Peace. Part 5. Mohamed hijab.
Like they had no idea how to answer it. Listen, you can find this online. I'm not making this. I'm not bragging here. One of them is in chapter 33 of the Quran. Because in the Quran many times it says al-hikmah, 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 or al-hukmah, which is, by the way, it's also a Hebrew word, hukmah, which means the wisdom, right? And most mufassirun, most exegetes say this is talking about the Sunnah. The hikmah of the Quran.
Okay. The hikmah is wisdom, okay? Everyone knows that. It's in a few different languages and is wisdom, okay? And in the Quran is wisdom. But I'll just to start this so I can actually have a debate with this guy. The word, the hikmah is the sunnah, okay? It was not mentioned in any hadith from the Prophet, okay? So, and it's actually, it's Imam Shafi'i, okay? No one before the Shafi'i said it, okay? Hikmah is a sunnah, you know what I mean? No one said it before that. And then comes the Shafi'i, right? He said, hikmah is the sunnah. Hikmah is the sunnah, and the sunnah is the second revelations, okay? He's the only person who's the first person to say it. Well, I'm not saying he said it. I don't know. I don't know if it existed. Do you know what I mean? Don't know. This shit has been made up by the Arab, by the hypocrites that lived with the Prophet. So, first of all, we have to follow the Sunnah of the Prophet. So things like this, like the Sunnah, is the second revelation. At least should be in Abu Hurairah's hadiths, in it. Should be in the Bukhari. Do you know what I mean? Should be a hadith about the Prophet, or the Prophet said that a sunnah is the hikmah. So, yeah, first of all, yeah. A second thing was the Prophet, okay, then the revelation, was it a Quran or was it a sunnah? Because it makes no sense. Because the revelations, if it was a sunnah, that means Muhammad was talking with the Quran, if you know what I mean. They even have a hadith said that the Prophet warned them from writing anything to do with him, his speech. Just write the Quran. And then their excuse was like, no, that he said it when the Quran was coming down. Do you understand? So after that, there's another hadith who said we can. So, the Prophet himself said not to write anything about me except the Quran. And then their explanation for that, right? So when you tell them, why did you write it's in your own hadith, right? It's in your hadith. So why don't you listen to your own hadith? And he said, no, he said it when the revelation is still coming down. So because he was scared if people gonna follow his speech and forget about the Quran. So here he's saying that the Prophet was doing both. According to him, he was reading the hadith, the Quran, and he was reading the Sunnah. Where was he reading it from? Was he reading it from a book, or did he have it in his head? And how can he be doing what he warned his followers not to do? You see, just from their own explanations, from their own crap. And I love it when they say, why are you using the hadith, you're a hypocrite? But they love it. When they talk to Christians and Jews and all that, they love it to go to the Bible, to go to the like Talmud. They actually do that to other people. But when you do it to them, they don't like it. They really don't like it. They start calling you hypocrite, you're Qur'ani, and they think by the word Qur'ani, it's an insult. They're so dumb, they use the word Qur'ani, right, to a person who they think is going to hell. That means the word Qur'an became an insult. They actually made it into an insult without even realizing. You know what I mean? That's how dumb they are. They seem to you like oh, they know what they're talking about, and they like look at them, and they know they've got books everywhere, but they're not. They're the dumbest people I've seen, honestly, because they don't believe in anything. They don't follow anything. They don't follow the hadith. They don't follow the Quran. They reject the Quran actually, and they're coming up with all these stories from people's opinions basically. This Shafi'i is one person that he came up with that, and he became part of a deen. He became a second revelations. And they're trying to find verses in the Quran to basically find their proof. And there's nothing in the Quran because the Prophet would have said it himself. Listen, right? That's two revelations. Makes sense, isn't it? So it makes sense. If there's two revelations, the first person who should have said it is the Prophet Mohammed. But he didn't. So we're not even following the Prophet Muhammad's Sunnah here. We're following someone else's Sunnah. It's not even Sunnah, hadith, right? So this guy came 100 years or 200 years after, and we have to follow his, because he's a Sahabi. He didn't even see the Prophet. Didn't even live with him. Anyway, forget it. Just forget about that. But let's finish what he says here.
Yeah, and we gave the prophets, the book and the hikmah or the hukmah. So we ask, so this is the usual debate. We say, okay, well, this is the Quran, and this is the Sunnah. The hikmah is the Sunnah. It's the wisdom that Allah has given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They say, no, this is nonsense. They say, this is your interpretation. You're superimposing your understanding. There is one verse in the Quran where Allah is speaking to the wives of the Prophet. He says, وَاذْكُرْنَ مَا يُتْلَى فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. And mention what is, or recite what in your houses. وَاذْكُرْنَ مَا يُتْلَى, what is recited in your houses, or mention what is recited in your houses, مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ, from the ayat of Allah, the ayat, the verses of God, meaning the Quran, وَالْحِكْمَةِ. So there are two things being recited here. These are two separate entities. You have the Quran and you have the hikmah. And it can't be the same thing because a lot of them will say the hikmah is the Quran itself. But how could it be when both are being recited and in Arabic?
Yeah. Okay, recited. Okay. So, who was reading the Quran here? Obviously the Prophet, yeah? He was reading the Quran. So, he was reading the Quran, his words, and then he stopped and he started explaining the Quran. I don't know what you mean by the Sunnah. Okay, here, I don't know what you mean by Sunnah. Was he explaining the Quran to them or telling them the wisdom from the Quran? So he had to actually, if he had to explain to them anything, he will have to tell them the wisdom, but from the Quran though. Even when you called Sunnah wisdom, just now, yeah, just before that, he called Sunnah wisdom, yeah? The wisdom that was given to the Prophet is called Sunnah. So the Sunnah became wisdom again. But that wisdom was happening when he was reading the Quran at the same time. Or I don't know, he stopped. I don't know what you mean by that. So he was reading the Quran, then he stops and then recites his Sunnah. And his Sunnah, that is his wisdom. Wisdom, what he got it from where? He got it from the Quran, isn't he? I mean, however you do it, you just get stuck. So that wisdom he got it from the Quran, okay? You couldn't have got it anywhere else. But now, you have a big problem. Let's carry on.
العطف يقتضي العطف للمغايرة. Or that conjunction, like the word and is a conjunction in English, yeah? Conjunction necessitates differentiation.
Correct.
This is a very well-known Arabic principle, yeah?
No, correct.
So if you have two things, ayatullah, yeah, which are the ayat or verses of God, and the hikmah, and there's a waw in between them, that must mean they're missing two different things. Which
there are two different things, yeah.
Cited, interestingly, meaning it can be mentioned by mouth. And
Yes, simple. I can tell you a story, right, by mouth, and then I can tell you the wisdom from that story from my mouth. How would you find the wisdom then? Do you know what I mean? When I tell you something as wisdom, I explain the wisdom to you. Where's the wisdom in this story? You probably know it, but I can still tell you. You know what I mean? I'll tell you a story that has wisdom, right? You probably know, you've seen the wisdom, you've heard it, and you know the wisdom in it. But I can still tell you about it to make sure you got it.
Allah is telling the wives of the Prophet to mention both, not just one. So what is this al-hikmah then? Wallahi, فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرْ.
Buhita alladhi kafar. I mean, he was shocked. The disbeliever was shocked. Alright? So, let's just say I'm a disbeliever, like they told me, yeah, they actually accused me of being, yeah? So let's just go and now you have a problem. You really have a problem because now you have to explain to me, alright, a few things. Right. Now, you say, now listen, I need to go back to that. No, let's jump, alright, because I had something else before that. But now I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to just talk about this hikmah thing, right? Sunnah, apparently from his head, right, from Shafi'i, his cleric, is a hikmah. First of all, the word sunnah, right, does not talk about hearsay. It's not a word. It's not verbal. Do you understand? A sunnah, right, is to do with action. It's action, okay? It's action. That's what it is. It's not talk. It's not words. It's not hadith. Sunnah is action. Hadith is words. It's stories, okay? First of all, this is in Arabic, yeah? This is in Arabic. Because the word sunnah in Arabic is to do, right? A sunnah is an action that happens, okay? It's all about actions. And in your hadith, you don't just have actions of the Prophet. You have his things that he said, things as he said as a prophet, not a messenger. You have Mohammed's speech, all right, on his daily life. And you have things that he didn't say nothing about. So things that he ignored, you even have hadiths about that. You know what I mean? So let's go and just, because you twisted the Quran, right? You twisted the Quran. You twisted the balaghat al-Quran. You killed it. You just killed the logic in the Quran. You know why? Because, let's show you. I just want to show you because you're so smart. Okay? So smart. And you're God, innit? God. I'm not Muslim, so you are. You must be a Muslim. But let's test you here. Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter 33, verse 34. This is the verse he just said it. وَاذْكُرْنَا مَا يُتْلَى فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ لَطِيفًا خَبِيرًا. Remember what is being recited in your home of God revelations and the wisdom, the hikmah, alright? That's what he says, isn't it? And therein God is sublime and cognizant. Right? Now, if the word sunnah didn't exist in a Quran, right? It was never mentioned, I might think you are right. Okay? You might be right. You can trick me. But if the word sunnah exists in the Quran and the word hikmah exists in the Quran, and the two different words, they can't mean the same thing. Do you understand? There is no way they mean the same thing. Otherwise, the Quran, we have to throw it away. Because you saying that God repeats himself and uses different words that mean the same thing. God does not do that. Every letter, every word in the Quran is got his exact meaning. Pinpoint meaning of it. So now, according to you, we can say, remember what is being recited in your homes of God revelations and the Sunnah. According to you, we can do that. According to you, we can say, واذكرن ما يتلى في بيوتكن من آيات الله والسنة إن الله كان لطيفا خبيرا. According to you, we can, right? Because that's what you just done. But let's just give you another verse about the Sunnah in the Quran and see if it means a hikmah. You never know. I might be dumb. You know what I mean? The Quran might be twisted. Might be not the word of God. But let's just test you. Surah Bani Israel, chapter 17, verse 76. They almost banished you from the land to get rid of you. This is God talking to the Prophet Mohammed. If they succeeded, they wouldn't have lasted long after that. This is a verse 76. Right? Okay. Let's not forget about that. Forget about that for now. Okay, forget about that for now. Right? Anyway, this is a verse 76, but I'll read the 77 after it because they relate to each other. So God is telling him here, they almost banished you from the land to get rid of you. If they succeeded, they wouldn't have lasted long after that. So God said to Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad, that. And then the verse after it, what he told him in Arabic, right? Let me just say it in Arabic and then I'll say it in English after that. سنة من قد أرسلنا قبلك من رسولنا ولا تجد لسنتنا تحويلا. I read the first verse in English, yeah? Verse 76. This is verse 77 in Arabic. سنة من قد أرسلنا قبلك من رسولنا ولا تجد لسنتنا تحويلا. Okay? In Arabic, right? According to you, we can say حكمة من قد أرسلنا قبلك من رسلنا ولا تجد لحكمتنا تحويلا. Because that's what you just done. You changed the word. You gave it a different meaning from a word in the Quran that has an entirely different meaning. Because the Sunnah in the Quran is action, it's a system. A system that's been set by God. Okay? And if you mess with it, action will get to you. Do you understand? Action. Something happens to you. Some action happens to you in your life. Or in together, it's all like a system. The word in a Quran, the Sunnah, is like a system. It's a way. It's God's way. He set it. That's it. It's all set from the start. Alright? Look what he told him. Because obviously they tried to banish him. Because they said, they almost banished you from the land to get rid of you. If they succeeded, they wouldn't have lasted long after that. That means, if they succeeded, right? If they succeeded to get rid of him, they wouldn't have, Allah would have finished them off. Would have finished them off. That's his sunnah on them, right? And after that, he told him, a system is set with all the messengers before you. And you will find that our system never changes. I'm saying this system never changes, right? If you mess with it, you get action. It's action. It's a program that God done. It's a system that God has already set. So, what he told him, right? A system that is set with all the messengers. Messengers before him, right? Their people tried to hurt them, and God punish them. So if Quraysh, which the people of Muhammad, right, succeeded to banish him from Mecca, God would have punished them. The same system. You mess with a prophet after giving you a warning, right? You're trying to hurt him, you're trying to stop him, you get punished. Simple. This is it, a system. That's how the system. That's how you explain the Sunnah. That's how you explain the Sunnah. You can't explain it as hikmah. It can't be wisdom. Because otherwise we'd be like, look, they almost banished you from the land to get rid of you. Okay? If they succeeded, they wouldn't have lasted in the long after you. Right? And then a hikmah, a wisdom, is set with all the messengers before you. You will find that our wisdom or hikmah never changes. Now, you see how you twisted the Quran? You twisted the Quran by changing something to something else. So you can't tell me what you've got, that verse you actually just read, can make me shocked. I am shocked because he believed that verse means the word hikmah is the sunnah, which is like hearsay of the Prophet. You know what I mean? Who's shocked, me or you, man? I'm shocked that you don't know your own Quran. You don't know what the word sunnah means. You're an Arab. You think you're an Arab. You're educated, Oxford. You don't know what the word sunnah means in Arabic. And the word hikmah means in Arabic. Inna Allah Hakim. Okay, Hakim. And hikmah came from the Hakim. That's why anyone who's got a lot of wisdom, we call him Hakim. Insanun Hakim. Because he has wisdom. Do you know what I mean? But should we more? Yeah, I'll do more. Because what he said.
Like this, he has no response to that whatsoever. So that's one thing.
You heard my response, yeah? Okay. I am not shocked. I'm shocked. He's an idiot.
The other thing is recently I done this and I thought it was a creative argument, and I turned out to be correct, is the argument of the qira'at. We know that we went through this with the preservation thing. We have something, the qira'at of the Quran, the ahruf, unzil al-Quran ala sab'ati ahrufin. The Quran has been revealed with 7...
No, it didn't. No, it did not. That's hadith, right? A prophet said that, right? God in the Quran said, I'll come up to that because he gives me ideas, right? Gives me ideas. I'll have to write something down because I need to come back to him. Right. So what he's saying, the Quran came down to the Prophet in seven different dialects, right? Right. So that's what he's saying. The Prophet said that, right? I'll give you a verse later what the Quran said.
Modes. So you'll find some on select words, about 700 to be exact, in the Quran, which is about 77,000 words. You can read it in more than one way. How do you explain that without this hadith? You would have to say there's been some kind of manipulation. So when you put that to them, what do you accept, Malik or Malik? And whatever you choose, the other one that you reject, what's your mechanism of rejection? If they don't have that...
Another verse I'm going to come up with, yeah? Remember all these things, yeah? Just remember that. But let me just stop him there because he said before, because he messed with a lot of things, right? Now he said, لِتُبَيِّنَ. Remember that verse? لِتُبَيِّنَ, that means to clarify, to explain, yeah? To explain, to give an understanding to the Quran. So people don't understand the Quran, and the Prophet Muhammad has to explain. لِتُبَيِّنَ. Remember that word he used, yeah? لِتُبَيِّنَ, right? That means to fassir. That's what he said, right? This is it. Because they told us the Prophet explained the Quran. So in that verse, tubayyina is to explain, isn't it? That's what they said, to explain. They didn't say to clarify, because to clarify in English and Arabic is different, you know what I'm saying? So it's not to clarify, it's to give an understanding. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, there's a verse, if tubayyina is in the Quran, and tafsir, the word tafsir is in the Quran, that means tubayyina has got nothing to do with tafsir. You understand? Not even close to it. You know what I mean? So, in the Quran, let's look for a verse if there is tafsir, right? Because that's what they said. They used that tubayyina, right? The word tafsir, right? Let's look in the Quran. Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25, verse 33. وَلَا يَأْتُوكَ بِمَثَلٍ إِلَّا جِئْنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ وَأَحْسَنَ تَفْسِيرًا. Wow, there is a word tafsir here. Okay, let's read it in English. Whatever arguments they come up with, we provide you with the truth and a better explanation or understanding. It doesn't matter. However you want to put it, still means the same thing. That means tubayyina is to make people understand. It doesn't mean to clarify. So if you say to make people understand what? I'm with you there. But to say to clarify or to say explaining, you have to explain. Now that word can't be explained because explain is already here, tafsir. You know what I mean? So, to bayina is to show, is to, in Arabic is تظهر or توضح, right? To show, is to proclaim. آية بينة, that means آية واضحة, clear. بينة, آية بينة is آية واضحة. That means a clear verse, right? It's a clear verse. Does not need explaining. Something clear does not need explaining. Do you understand? You only have to what? To proclaim it. البينة, right? الحجة الواضحة. البينة, which is written different, but البينة is الحجة الواضحة. That means it's the clear proof. So, hey, it's a clear proof. So everything here, this word to bayina is nothing to do with explaining or teaching or translating or, well, it's not. I'll tell you what that to bayina came from. What's the word all about? I'll give you a story from the Quran. How did I get to my understanding? You know what I'm saying? And how anyone that with like few brain cells, right, that reads the Quran, understand what's the meaning, why God said litubayyina, right? Look, Surah Al-Nahl, chapter 16, verse 43 and verse 44. I'm going to read them together. وما أرسلنا من قبلك إلا رجالا نوحي إليهم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون بالبينات والزبر وأنزلنا إليك الذكر لتبين للناس ما نزل إليهم ولعلهم يتفكرون. First of all, أهل الذكر here, they're not the imams, yeah? They're not the imams. It's the people before the Prophet. He's talking about the Rahban, you know, the rabbis. He's talking about the Rahbans. Here, the dhikr is the rabbis and the priests. Ahl al-dhikr. That's who they are. People, it doesn't have to be rabbis or priests. The Jews and the Christians. Because it's not about rabbis and priests, it's about Jews and Christians. Here it's talking about the Jews and Christians, not your imams or ulama or something like they told you. Yeah? So وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ إِلَّا رِجَالًا نُوحِيَ إِلَيْهِمْ فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالزُّبُرِ وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Okay, we did not send before except men, whom we inspired. Ask those who know the scripture, the Jews and the Christians. Yeah, if you do not know, what do you not know? I'll come up to that. Just keep watching, keep listening. We provide them with proof and the scriptures, and we sent down to you this message to proclaim, to show for the people everything that is sent down to them. Perhaps they will reflect. So here, why are they saying that? Why is God saying that? Why is God saying that? Why is God saying is'alu ala dik? Why God is telling them to ask these people? I'll tell you why. Because in the verse, Al-Furqan, chapter 25, verse 7, okay? And they said, how come this messenger eats foods and walk in the markets? If only an angel could come down with him to serve with him as a warner. So these people are the people that Quraysh, yeah? Which is the Arabs, right? The Arabs said, right? Quraysh, yes, said, and they said, yeah? How come this messenger eats the food and walks in a market? Like a question mark. Like a human being eats and walks in a market is a messenger. They wanted something more. If only an angel could come down with him to serve with him as a warner. Why did they ask for that? Because to believe in they have to see an angel with him to believe he's a prophet. Because they didn't believe a human being can be a prophet. You understand that? And then you go to verse 8, just after it. Or, if only a treasure could be given to him, or if only he could possess a garden or like a paradise, like little paradise, little garden, from which he eats. The transgressors also said, "You are following a bewitched man." So, they didn't believe he was a prophet. They did not believe he was a prophet, because that's what they said about him. He's bewitched, like you said in your own hadith. You said in the hadith, right, that the prophet was bewitched. And the God says here, the transgressors also said, "You are following a bewitched man." I don't know. I'm not saying you the transgressors. I'm not saying nothing, but you said the same thing, which is weird. Right? And then, let's go to the next verse so you understand the story. The full story I give you from the Quran. Surah Bani Israel, verse 17, chapter 94 and 95. What prevented the people from believing when the guidance came to them? Is their saying, did God send a human being as a messenger? That's what they said. Did God? It was like a question mark. They don't believe that. They don't believe that. Did God send a human being as a messenger? That's his people. God is talking about everyone here, right? Everyone, not just the people of Mohammed, but everyone. Because he's talking about people. What prevented the people from believing when the guidance came to them? Is they say, that's what they say, did God send a human being as a messenger? And then verse 95 say, if the earth was inhabited by angels, we would have sent down to them from the sky an angel messenger. See, all this take us back to that verse. The verse is, you keep mentioning, to bayina, right? That means explaining the Quran, is, we did not send before except man whom we inspired. Ask those who know the scripture if you do not know. Now God is telling them, to these people, we only send man to mankind. Okay? Alright? If you don't believe a man can be sent down as a messenger to people, then ask the Christians and the Jews. And then he told the prophet, right? He told them what we provided them with, so they know God provided the Prophet Muhammad with the same thing. He came with his own scripture like the ones before him, with them. So he's asking Muhammad to show them the Quran, right? So they know what has been sent to them. See, that's all. Not to explain anything about the Quran, to explain all this story. You understand? Not the Quran itself. Does not need explanations. When you put the Quran verses together, it makes, that's what I said, they work into context. The Quran is one book, it's a whole book. Forget about what the surahs are called, or the verses, right? But it's one book. You have to read it all to understand it all. That's how you get the wisdom, the hikmah. Because it comes from there. That's why it's special. It's like, it looks like it's scattered everywhere, but it's not. It's like he puts himself, once you read it, the verses start putting themselves together in your head. Because you remember, you heard that before. And you go and search for that verse. And then you heard something else and you go and search for that verse. And then you stick them together and they make sense. And you understand the subject, basically. That's why the Quran is amazing. No human being can make it. Especially the balagha. I know his English is different. When you translate it, it's different. Especially the balagha. The thing in the Quran is just the language of the Quran. It's nothing to do with the Arabic we speak now. It's not nothing to do with it. It has some relation, but it has its own way. The Quran has its own way to understand it. It's not like Arabic. It's not like the Arabic we speak now. You see what I'm saying? It's not. you have to have keys. You have to have like structure to understand it. You can't just bring half a verse and stick it and say Ati'u Allah, Ati'u Rasul. And I will come to that. Mr. Hijab, I am coming to that. My next subject is that. Is a prophet and a prophet, the Rasul and Allah are two different. Are different, you're saying. Yeah, are different. You're not the same, right? He said that, yeah? Come back to you from the Quran. Peace out.